Hello and welcome to my 100% achievement walkthrough for Vampire the Masquerade Swansong. Um, so by default, you start on save slot 1, of which there are 3 save slots. We'll be making use of them quite a bit because, as you'll find out, this game is quite broken when it comes to bugs. And you might be thinking, well, okay, how bad are the bugs? Well, they softlock your game if you encounter the worst of them. Um, And well, you might be thinking, well, there's a level select option, there's a restart level option. Surely I can just navigate around the game using those features. Unfortunately, those features are the most broken features. If you use restart level from within the pause menu, what tends to happen is the game just completely, just completely breaks. Your skill set reverts back to its initial levels at the start of the game. A lot of dialogue and interaction points are broken. Sometimes you just get a completely blank screen, and that's what you load back into should you quit and try to, restore that. So it's a bit naff. It does require you to get a lot right on the first try, although we can sort of mitigate that using the level select. So not restart level, but level select on the main menu. We can duplicate our saves, so we can create our own sort of checkpoints that we can restart from if we do mess things up. The only caveat to that, however, is the level select list occasionally is blank, and it becomes blank whenever you close the game. So the end of the current play session causes that list to be blank. But any chapters that you start, specifically start, not just like resume, but begin during that play session, will be populated in that list. This is something that will become more apparent as we go on. But yeah, I just really, unfortunately, want to emphasize how broken this game is as we begin, so there's no surprises. And if you want the most out of this walkthrough, you are going to have to follow it exactly as you see on screen and as I describe. Um, so yeah, you can't skip all dialogue and cutscenes, although you can skip most of them. The introduction is not one of them. Um, I might as well talk about some of the mechanics while it's getting started. So, the conversations you have with other characters are basically this game's version of combat encounters, right? Um, and by selecting the right dialogue options or by being successful at skill checks, that's how you succeed in these confrontations. So if you follow exactly the walkthrough as described, you will have found the correct items in the world that allow you to select um, the best options in dialogue. And when it comes to mandatory skill checks, you will have the best specification and the best bonuses going into that for the greatest chance of success. So again, follow the walkthrough as closely as possible. Um, this is chapter 1, in which we play as all 3 characters. So I think at this point, yeah, you can skip. So the game has tutorials. Um, they're not that intrusive, but I also think some of them are poorly explained at best and really misleading at worst. So make sure to take it in, but if I say anything that contradicts it, I would probably veer on the side of just following what I say. So close that down. So these are dialogue options. We're talking to Emem's friend Journey. So you can see here that these 2 dialogue options are against certain skills, so psychology and persuasion. We're not skilled in persuasion, so we can't use that. So we're going to go with psychology. Now you see the number 2 next to Emem's name. That represents her skill level for psychology. And the 1 next to Journey Atkins, that's Journey's defense. Like that's her level of psychology that she will defend against. Um, there's a blue diamond there with the number 3 next to it, so that is telling us that it's going to use free willpower, which is the resource up at the top. And any use of a skill will expend willpower. And then you can see that our usage of this skill will result in 100% success rate. So let's go for that. She has nothing to hide. And sure enough, it'll come up on screen saying success. I'm going to skip through most dialogue, by the way. So if you come to this walkthrough wanting a very in-depth, holistic look at the game's story, this is probably not for you. This is if you want to get through the game for achievements, primarily. So you want to change the subject on the next dialogue option. We'll be in conversation with a new character, April, in which we'll be introduced to a new concept called disciplines. So, in the same way that you have skills that use up willpower, we will use disciplines, just vampire powers, that accumulate hunger. And if you fill up that gauge, which I think goes up to 12, then you can't use any more disciplines. So in this case, we're kind of forced to use the presence discipline, which accumulates free hunger. There is 0% chance to use this because April's defense against presence is too high, and that's fine. For tutorial reasons, I kind of intended to fail this. So, yep, failure, that's fine. The screen goes white to indicate that vampire powers are being used. Right, and then we're in control of our first character, who is Emem. You can't currently run, but our destination is this rotunda hall ahead of us. So walk over there. It's also worth mentioning there is some story DLC for this game. I won't be covering that, just so this walkthrough is applicable to most people. And if I'm being honest, from what I've read of the DLC, it doesn't really add much, either in story or in terms of in-game rewards, which is a bit disappointing. So these next set of dialogue options, I believe, with Galeb don't really matter, but let's just pick exactly what I pick for the sake of having the same experience, right, as possible. So I usually go with there are usually more of us. And then he's a real shark. So Hilda comes over and introduces us to the concept of focus. So what this means is that you can temporarily, like as a one-time thing, um, or rather at each dialogue option choice, you can use more willpower. So you see how next to the blue diamond, it goes from 3, 5, and 6. That's me increasing NM's skill level just for this one-off occasion. And it uses more willpower to do that. So you can see, for tutorial reasons, it wants me to focus, right? So I can't use the free option, but I can focus at 5, I can focus at 6, and I get 30% success rate at 5 willpower, 100% success rate at 6 willpower. But really, if a choice is not really mandatory, it doesn't really give us any bonuses or any XP objectives or achievements, we will probably just want to fail it, right? We want to save that willpower for occasions where dialogue options really must succeed. So in cases like this, you probably wouldn't focus, but for tutorial reasons, you're going to have to, right? So focus at the 5 willpower point, right? And if you fail this, it's absolutely okay. Oh, and as the game just briefly explained, your opponent can focus as well, so their own skill level can increase, although they can only do it by a factor of 1. And the game does tell you how likely it is that they will focus. I think it usually maxes out around like 40%. I don't think I've ever seen it higher than 40% chance of focusing. But if you follow this guide, you should have a pretty good success rate anyway. So if you head If you head to the elevator ahead of you, click on the call elevator button, you'll be in a cutscene. This bit's unskippable. We'll then transition to one of the other characters we'll be playing as, Leysha. I'm just now realizing I've never actually said her name out loud. So here you want to go with I've missed her so much. Our other playable characters will enter the scene. And then you want to go with Emem doesn't realise how serious it is. He's got no business lecturing me. This time it's different. And then we'll be able to set up Emem's skill specification as we see fit. So there are 3 default profiles here, but if you go on the free option, we'll be able to just obviously really freely choose whatever we want to set. So you need to navigate to the disciplines screen before you can really set anything up. So here are the skills. So at the top are attributes, which are not directly usable in themselves, but increases the chances of winning at certain skills in the case of a tie. And at certain levels, they will also reduce the willpower cost to focus skills. And then you have the actual skills themselves that come up in dialogue a lot. You have exploration skills. So these are usually not in conversations. These are usually like hacking or lockpicking. Knowledge skills, these sometimes come up in conversation, but also just out in the world. So like reading books, making sense of stuff, that sort of thing. We'll tend not to need much of the exploration or knowledge ones. And then disciplines, each of the playable vampires has 3 disciplines. So MM has Auspex, Celerity, and Presence. Not all of the vampires have these same 3. For example, there is another power called Dominate, and there's another power called Fortitude. So for an M, we've got 130 to spend. Now, to get the most out of this level and set you up for the best things, you want to go and put 2 points into mental, which brings it to level 3. That costs 40 XP. There is a discount on that because we got a trait earlier on, and a trait is bonuses awarded to you because you've taken specific actions. So it represents traits of a personality, right? Actions you've taken. So that's 2 into mental, and then if you navigate down to psychology, you want to put 2 into there. That costs 90 and brings it to level 3. So now you have 0 XP remaining to spend. The game will ask you if you want to spend any into disciplines, but no, it's not relevant for this chapter. Now, because you've upgraded a skill to level 3, you'll pop the Neonate achievement. So that's cool, just straight away. You'll be in conversation with Hazel Iverson, who is the prince of the Boston court. That might sound a bit odd to you. It's prince not in the sense of gendered royalty roles, but rather a prince in the Machiavellian sense. So the first option I picked there, sorry, was Y, and then I'm going to go, oh, and it was all right. So keep silent is next. And then lastly is I need to think about it. You'll be happy to know the game isn't just all cutscenes like this. We will just shortly be in full control of Emem for a bit longer. So we can walk around this bar area. If you press B, you can toggle run. There are 3 humans here, and you can see the grayed out blood droplet icon. It's only grayed out because they're engaged in conversation. Um, Oh, and I suppose we also haven't found a safe zone. So a safe zone is a secluded area in most levels that, when found, you can lure human prey to. So you see how those blood droplets now are lit up. So I can feed on either of these 3 to reduce my hunger meter. But we want to be quite selective in which humans we pick to feed on, because sometimes in their blood they have what's known as a resonance, and which resonance you obtain and in which order you obtain it will determine which discounts you have when upgrading disciplines. It's kind of needlessly complex and not very well explained by the game, if I'm being honest. But you want to discover both alcoves. So here's the first one. Here's the other one directly opposite. And each time you discover a safe zone, it'll come up on screen, and you will also get a discovery bonus, which is +1 willpower. So that brings us up to 10 willpower. Make sure you visit both alcoves because they are identical pretty much. So the human we want to feed upon is this guy over here. So he does stand by this area, but then he'll occasionally walk over to this area. You do not want to feed on these 2 just yet. So it's this guy who's walking around by the guard at the entrance. So if you hold down Y, a meter will fill up to confirm that this is the person you want to feed on. You'll navigate to what I suppose you can call a feeding minigame. And in this, you want to hold down RT when a meter appears. Failing to press RT or holding it to the point where the meter fills up completely is bad. It kills the person and will increase your suspicion meter. We'll talk about suspicion in a short moment. So you can see here, that's what the meter is going to look like on screen. Holding RT fills it up. And because we don't want to fill it up completely, and you're not obviously yet used to how quickly it fills up, rather than aim for the full 7, right now we're going to aim for 5. Okay, so let's do that. There we go. Usually I'll advise you to aim for 6, so then we have a bit of slack, and we don't always fail it. That'd be a good day. So once you feed upon a person, they'll be kneeled over. Oh, well, usually they're kneeled over, and you can feed from them a second time. That's what that interaction is. However, you never want to do that. You'll never be in such a desperate place as to need to do that, and it results in their death. And any death of a human will increase the suspicion meter. Now, do we have access to the full menus yet? Yeah. Okay. So let's just go through the menus really quick. So the first tab is inventory, and it's off limits currently. So character is your skill set that you've invested into. Disciplines is the disciplines you've invested into. All pretty straightforward. Now talents, not to be confused with traits. Talents are the more that you use a skill or discipline or feeding action, the better you become at it, right? So for example, here, Puppet Master talent, we've used psychology once, but the more we use it, the more this fills up. And at the point where we've used it 3 times, we get a plus 15% success rate in a tie. And at the 6th time we've used it, we get a discount for upgrading it, and that's really cool. for skills that we want. Now, you might think, okay, cool. So I guess we'll be filling up most of these meters. So by the time we get to the end game, we're like really set, we're really powerful for any situation or confrontation we're in. The reality is in terms of skill accumulation, the game is over before you kind of expect it to be, and it's very rare that you will fill up any of these meters. It takes a really concerted effort to do that, and you find that it's kind of a wasted effort anyway. So yeah, I've already gone through this game multiple times and figured out kind of the best way to proceed. Now, traits, this is a tricky screen, right? I recommend not really navigating anywhere on this screen because at the bottom there you have share traits, which are hunger and suspicion. So these are shared amongst the three characters you have, right? And the higher hunger is, the you get some penalties to success rates in psychology because you're more beastly, right, if you're hungry. And suspicion is a set of actions where humans are starting to become suspicious that vampires exist. So that's like the more you feed on people, you kill people, you leave suspicious items in levels, or you feed upon rats that are then discarded in levels. Um, Now, do not hover over suspicion. I found that if you hover over that meter, it just jumps up. So it's weird, right? If you look at it now and keep looking at it every level, it will be much higher than if you had just looked at it later level. So I really recommend not looking around the traits screen of the menu at all. It's just a bit broken. Okay, so that spot us down to free hunger, having fed upon that human. We can go over to this alcove where a different character has fed on a human. That one wasn't by us. We'll be prompted to press LB, which activates Allspecs, which is one of Emem's disciplines, one of her vampire powers, right? So she can engage with the world in a different way. So Allspecs is like detective mode. It's picking up on scents and having really good eyesight. Anything that relates to that sort of thing. So we can trap this scarf that causes the guard at that door to disappear. But before we run through there, we do want to feed upon another character, another human that is. So let me just double check which one that is. Yes, it's this woman here. So we have 5 hunger, so it makes sense that when we feed upon her now, that's the amount you want to eliminate. So fill up the bar to the number 5. As the game goes on, I'll talk less and less about the mechanics because it should be kind of second nature as we go on. It's just unfortunately, in games with many mechanics, you kind of have to front load a lot of explanations. Cool. So, like the first character we've had upon, this character also has a resonance. So, in just a brief second, it'll come up on the screen which resonance we've got. Don't worry too much about which ones we obtain, but in this case, it's sanguine, if that's how you pronounce that. We want to head through the rotunda into this office area. And there's a set of 4 transparent offices here. Now, if you activate Auspex, you can see into one of them where 2 characters are talking and you can listen carefully. Now, this isn't an objective that the game gives you in the level, but it is a hidden XP objective. So at the end of each level, you are rewarded based on the objectives and hidden XP objectives that you successfully discover and succeed at. This is one of them. So let's listen to the end of that conversation. Cool. Right, so I recommend turning all specs off when we don't need it because it zooms in and applies an effect that can be quite annoying. And so what we want to do is enter the office that's opposite them, and on this table here we can take something. So that's a club business card, which is a willpower restorative. So it will +5 to the willpower meter, but we want to use them really only when I say, for specific instances. So there's another office here just opposite. On their little cabinet, we can also take an item, and that is a key card. So we can use this key card pretty much immediately by going into this room over here that's labeled Archives. You want to swipe the card. Over here in the right of the room is a safe. We can enter a code, and the code here is 9138, and then you press V to confirm. So that opens up, and there's another card to take in there. So exit out, and then there's a room over there just opposite. The character, April, from the start, comes over to the front bit where we can talk to her. Now, we won't be doing this an awful lot, but there are times where we want to use a skill just so we can increase its talent meter, so that when we really need to use that skill, we've got the discount reward from the talent. So this is one of those instances where we're using this skill, but we don't really care if it succeeds or not. So you want to go with They're Close, which is the psychology skill. If this succeeds or fails, fine, whatever, not a problem. Now, the guide will assume that you've failed, so we're all kind of working from like a common baseline. But if you win, you will get a +1 willpower reward. But I'm going to assume it failed for you. So then you want to tell her to drop it. Always be checking in, by the way, at the top of the screen, that the amount of willpower and hunger I have are pretty much what you have too. If you have a few more willpower than me, that's fine, but you should never really be under the amount of willpower that I have up there. Okay, so if we go out of our April's office, up these shadowy stairs. So there's two corridors either way. The left corridor, which is with Java Drury's name, head through there. But before we go any further, open up your inventory menu, which is now accessible, and you want to be using just one of these cards. So as you can see, your willpower meter's gone up by 5, bringing it to 12. And then the first door on your left, which is labeled with Java's name, you want to hold down A to confirm that you want to open this door, because it's a point of no return. Okay, and then you want to tell her to calm down. And you'll be presented with a new game mechanic called a decision point. And that is just a binary choice presented outside of dialogue. And these tend to have more of an impact than choices within dialogue. So this is at points where the story can really diverge. In this case, you want to go with She Should Run, which is on the right. Now, because it is the start of the game and we've not had a chance to really harden our skills just yet, there is going to be one of these stages of this confrontation that will fail, and that's fine. So the first one to do is make her think I have evidence against her. That's going to fail, absolutely fine. But it still contributes to our talent meter, successful or not, so that's cool. So stage lost, yeah, that's fine. In the second choice, you want to go with April. That succeeds. And then in the third and final stage, you want to go with She Needs to Trust Me, which is the psychology skill use. So that's here at the bottom. And that has a 100% chance to succeed. If it doesn't, or if anything fails that I say If anything fails that I say should succeed, you want to immediately go to the pause menu, go to main menu, and then continue from the main menu back into the level, which will take you to the start of this conversation and you can try again. You might see me do that as we play. Okay, so now we are in control of the other character, Leysha. We want to set our skill set freely, so select free, and you want to put 1 point into social, which brings it to level 2, and then you want to put 2 points into persuasion, which brings it to level 3. That should give you 25 XP remaining to spend later. We're not spending anything in disciplines, the game will want to make sure that's fine. So in this dialogue, this conversation, well, conversation is probably not the right word to use. This dialogue with this character will have one option that is timed. In this specific instance, it's fine because letting the timer run out is the same as selecting the option we're going to choose. That's not always the case though. So if I say that something is timed, just be on your guard a little bit and be prepared to select the choice that I say. So the first choice was I don't remember, and then secondly, no, nothing at all. And this is, if you look in the middle of the screen, it's gone off already. So it's very very easy to miss, and I didn't realize this was even a thing. Is a persuasion attempt. So when you have a binary choice of defend and do not defend, even if you select the do not defend option, you still get credit for the skill it's for. So in this case, it's for persuasion. So that's quite useful because without spending any willpower on not defending, we still increase the talent meter for persuasion. So you want to select don't defend yourself. I'll just demonstrate that actually. So if I go to the talents meters, so we just use persuasion, didn't we? So you can see there progression 1 out of 10, and that 1 is the one that we just did just then. So that's cool. So this next option is timed. You can let it run out. It's the same as selecting say nothing. Next up is a timed decision point. Letting it expire is the same as selecting the option that we select, so don't feel too rushed. But the thing to go for is give in to a premonition. This is skippable, although they tend not to be. And we're in control of Leysha now. So you want to turn around, press B to run. Open this little box here, read the contents. You don't have to go through all the pages, it's enough just to open it and close it. Turn around, you want to push this file binder and then snatch the pink file binder that it reveals. That's all for this apartment, so exit out, turn left, and head to the door that you see ahead. Use the key on it. That key was given to you by the prince. That's not something we've had to pick up. Over here on the cabinet next to all these books is a Polaroid, and the Polaroid is Leysha's version of a club business card, so it restores 5 willpower. In the bedroom, head to the wardrobe and activate all specs using LB. You'll have this interaction, so Leysha can recognize that there's like a hidden piece of paper. So you can pierce obfuscate, so that's looking through the illusion, seeing it for real, and you're able to read it, so make sure you do that. And that's all for this apartment, so exit out, turning right. Use your key on the big blue door, then you want to head over this balcony area to do the same at this big blue door. You will automatically become invisible using another one of Leysha's powers called Mask of Stealth. The game prompts you to activate it using LT. However, you can't engage with the world while in this form, you can only kind of move around. If you head into Hilda's apartment, you can activate Auspex in addition to Mask of Stealth, and press A to listen carefully to her mumbling. Cool, so once she's done that, we can deactivate Auspex, come out of her apartment, deactivate Mask of Stealth. If you head into the apartment opposite, this is where Beryl is. Talk to Beryl. Now, this is another occasion where our skill usage needs to succeed in order to succeed at a XP objective. So you want to focus the persuasion dialogue choice to 6 willpower. This brings our success chance to 89. So there is a significant chance you'll fail this because he's also going to. There's a chance that he might focus as well. So you can see there, opponent focus 20%. So if you do fail this, remember again, as soon as it says failure, pause it, head to the main menu, click continue. You'll be back at the start of this conversation to try again. So let's give it a shot. Okay, in this case, I happen to succeed. Nice and easy. We want to leave his apartment and then head into the final door that we come across. Head into the secondary room. We can open this bag and look within to obtain a floppy disk. Come into here. We can insert that floppy disk into the computer tower underneath the desk and then consult the monitor. Don't have to read all that, close it down. And then all we have to do is talk to the child character. And we want to say, yes, we can go. This is another point of no return, except this time it's within dialogue. So hold it down. So there's quite a few options here about things you've discovered just now, but there's only so many of them that are truly relevant or lead to certain rewards. So you want to go into, I went into Dejan's rooms. And then I picked up a file on our security. That gives us a trait called Merciful. That is a plus 10% success rate in retractize. And then you want to say nothing else. And we get another trait, which is Bootlicker, which is a 30 XP discount to the next cost of exploration skills. And then we're presented with a level overview. Since we played this level, there's 3 different characters, we have 3 different overviews. This is Leysha's one. So you can see we've been awarded 3 traits, and these are the objectives that we've succeeded in. So you want to just make sure that the objectives that you see here are the ones that you have, because they lead to the reward that we obtain down below, which is 125. If you see 125, that's perfect. You don't have to check these bullet points because you'll, probably have exactly what I've got. But if you have anything less than 125, you just want to go through this list and see what you're missing, and that should clue you in to, what you've missed, what you'll have to do again, unfortunately. So you want to continue. We gain control of Emem once again. So this is another must succeed occasion, right? So the psychology use, we want to focus to 6. It says 100% chance to succeed, but if she focuses it, it becomes a 96% chance. So it's very likely you'll pass, but if not, again, you want to use the quit and resume trick. So let's use pretend she tricked me at 6 willpower, that's focused. So she focuses her skill. Still 100% cool, perfect, so that succeeded. Now, if you hadn't been following this walkthrough and you haven't used the skills I've told you to set, or you haven't done the talent accumulation I've said, or got the bonuses that I've said, then your chance of succeeding at that is much lower, and then you fail XP objectives or you don't get more bonuses. It all kind of builds up. So that's got us a trait called Skilled Orator, which is plus 10% success rate in rhetoric ties. And then for Emem's scene overview, you should have 2 traits there and a reward of 95 experience. And you can see that her resonance bonus is celerity, so that's the discount that she'll have based upon who we've fed upon. Next up is Galeb. So you want to select free again so we can set his skills as we want. You want to put 1 point into social. You want to put 2 points into persuasion, bringing it to level 3. Put 1 point into technology and 1 point into deduction. That leaves you with 5 experience remaining, so continue. Again, the game will want to confirm that you don't want to add any points to disciplines. This bit's really short now, the level is almost over. In your conversation with the prince, you want to say, go on. It doesn't seem you can toggle the run button just yet. The game will often do this. It'll force you to walk during what it considers dramatic moments, I suppose. So turn this corner and you'll be in conversation with Beryl. You want to select a member of the Primogen here. How strange. This is a rhetoric use, but it's okay to fail. So if you fail this, yep, as I have, absolutely fine. This second option, however, to defend, you must succeed. So you want to focus at 6 willpower. It brings you close enough to 100% success rate, but not quite. So again, if you fail this, you want to use the quit and resume trick. The more the game progresses, the better our skills and bonuses are, so the less you'll find that you have to do this. It's just if we fail at this, we get a negative trait that hampers him for the rest of the game. So we want to succeed at this, so defend, focused at 6 willpower. Let's have a crack. Yes, perfect. So we get a positive trait there called My Lips Are Sealed, and that's a discount to the Fortitude discipline. After he leaves, there's a folder on the desk behind him. You want to study the writing. This is only possible because we've invested into the deduction skill, so do that. Galeb only comments on it briefly, but that is actually a successful use. Sorry, that's us succeeding at an XP objective. So with that done, you want to approach the servant. He'll move out the way. You should be able to toggle the run button now, and then over here in the left there's a little box hidden behind these binders. Open that, take the key from within. If you head into the office nearby, that key is used here on the cabinets, so use the key. Inspect within, take, and that's an old coin. That's Galeb's willpower restorative in the same way that Leysha has the Polaroids and Emem has the club business cards. So over here at this desk area, you want to take this key card, head through the door into the other corridor opposite. and there's a computer in the very corner. This costs 5 willpower to hack. It's very confusing because it says skill technology 2 out of 2. Now we've only invested one into technology, but it still allows us to do the interaction. So very confusing. I think what the game is trying to portray is that the more you invest into that skill, the less willpower it consumes, up to a value of 2. But it says 2 out of 2 there, which is not accurate. So again, it's just another way in which the game is just broken a little bit. Anyway, hack this computer. hmm And then if you turn around, there's a guy here. It's a part of no return to talk to him. You want to say, let's get to the point. Go on. Who? And all right. Now, this bit's really weird because he gets a phone call and he spends like a grand total of 5 seconds on this phone. And like he's mostly doing he's doing all the talking, right? And he comes over to you and then he like relays all the information that he's just gathered. But like so much information from a 5 second phone call where he was doing most of the talking. Just a little bit silly. It makes me laugh. Right, and that's Galeb's scene overview, which is the final overview. So you should see that you've been rewarded one trait and a reward of 125 experience. If you haven't got 125, you'll be missing one of those success bullet points. So you need to figure out where you've gone wrong. Um, and again, don't restart the level from the option down below. It's broken. Sometimes it does work. More often than not, it doesn't, and it soft locks your game. At this point, because we've really just started, you're probably just best off starting a new game if something's gone wrong. But going forward, obviously, we don't want to keep restarting to the very start of the level, at the very start of the game, right? So if I hit continue now, we're presented with 3 options, which is the next scene we want to do. So it's a bit weird in that these are not um, presented in a way that I think is sensible, right? Because uh, this is scene 3 with Emem, this is scene 2 with Galeb, and this is scene 4 with Leysha. So like numerically, they're not listed correctly. Maybe well, they're at the same time, so I don't understand why it's been ordered this way. But we have our choice of which one to pick next, right? Now, the next scene we want to do is Galeb, so it's the one in the middle. So if I head into that, the start of each level, you're allowed to upgrade your character's skills. So as you just remember, we've earned Galeb 125 experience points, and we left 5 experience left unspent. So we can spend that as we want here. So if I put 1 into social, bringing it to level 3, 1 into rhetoric, bringing it to level 2, and 1 into psychology, and finally 1 into a discipline, which is dominate, bringing that to level 2. We only have 10 XP remaining. If you apply that, that starts the level. Now, I'm not going to go into the walkthrough for scene 2 right now, but what I am going to do is show you how we're going to kind of manually create our own restart scene functionality, right? So whenever you start a scene for the first time, you want to quit out to the main menu. You want to hit level selection, Well, actually, before you do that, you see in the corner it says slot 1. That means we're on the first save slot of 3. So you can see here, one save slot number 1. And we want to go in level selection. And then for the scene that we've just started, which in this case is scene 2, Moore's apartment, and you can see Galeb's face over on the right. If you select that, it will ask you what save slot you want to continue on, and you want to select one other than the one that you would currently just active. So this starts scene 2 again on slot 2, which means that's where we'll be progressing on. But if we screw up, we've always got the save file on slot 1 to reload, so we can always progress from that point. So we've sort of manually created our own restart level functionality. It's a bit naff, but it's better than nothing. It's better than starting again, fresh new playthrough, if we screw up towards the end. So yeah, that's the trick that we'll be using going forward. And I'll see you in the next video when we tackle scene number 2. Bye.